You are walking up to a street kiosk in Berlin at dusk. The line is moving fast, and it's your turn to order. You are just grabbing a beer at the local Späti. It is the most basic transaction in the city. You spent 2 years memorizing standard German, Hochdeutsch. You know your verb conjugations. But the guy behind the counter says something fast, and you catch absolutely none of it. You nod anyway. You hand over a 20, take your change, and walk out. The failure here is not academic. Every time you nod blankly at a cashier or a neighbor, you reinforce your own social isolation. Relying strictly on classroom German ensures people understand your requests, but it instantly brands you as someone who just arrived. You face a stark choice: cling to the rigid grammar rules that make you feel safe, or abandon them to actually follow what locals are saying. This funnel shows the reality of daily communication. A massive volume of standard German vocabulary and complex rules goes into the top, but only a tiny, highly compressed fraction filters down into actual street usage. You do not need to learn a second language to survive in Berlin. You need a strategic patch applied to your existing knowledge. To navigate the city efficiently, you must measure the effort to learn a specific dialect quirk against the immediate impact it has on your social integration. This matrix maps out the Berlin dialect. We plot the effort to learn a rule against the actual comprehension impact it delivers. The local pronunciation shift plots right here in the top left quadrant. It requires almost zero new grammar, but delivers massive results. The primary rule is systematic. The initial G sound shifts to a J. The standard word for good, gut, becomes jut. Gehen becomes jen. The second shift hardens the first-person pronoun. The soft standard German ich turns into a sharp, hard K-stop, ich. Even American presidents recognize the power of this specific phonetic marker. Ich bin Berliner was an explicit attempt to signal local solidarity over formal precision. There is a temporary cost. For the first few weeks, it takes active mental stamina to hear jut and translate it back to gut in real time. But adopting this auditory patch instantly decodes 80. If you try using the casual du at the Bürgeramt or with bureaucratic officials, you will create immediate friction and offend the person processing your paperwork. Mastering this switch removes artificial distance. It proves you understand the blunt, unvarnished communication style locals call the Berliner Schnauze. Moving on. Then we have structural grammar. Local case erosion lands squarely in the bottom right quadrant. This is the worst possible investment for a language learner. In casual speech, locals frequently merge the dative and accusative cases, using den where standard rules dictate dem. Do not attempt to replicate this. Degrading your own grasp of standard grammar yields zero actual communicative benefit. Listen to it, but do not speak it. The final component is the localized slang layer. Learning these specific terms is a highly effective social tool, plotting right here in the top right. You need the core neighborhood nouns. Understanding the word Kiez, meaning your specific local area, is mandatory for navigating Berlin. Every resident has a Kiez and talks about it constantly. You also need the minimalistic filler words. A simple rising na easily replaces a clunky, overly formal greeting. The trade-off is entirely geographic. This specific mental investment becomes useless the moment you take a train to Munich or Hamburg. But inside the city limits, memorizing a targeted 15-word list grants you more immediate street credibility than a year of advanced grammar classes. Your strategy depends entirely on your timeline in the city. This scorecard outlines 2 primary paths. The corporate expat on a short-term contract should focus purely on auditory recognition, but speak standard vocabulary. The long-term integrator path mandates adopting the informal du and actively utilizing local slang. Standard German secures your employment and your visa. Leaning into the local dialect secures your community. The problem is that traditional language apps deliberately ignore this street-level reality. Street Tongue built a dedicated Berlin module specifically to target this exact comprehension gap. It lets you practice real Späti interactions digitally, lowering the anxiety of attempting it in person for the first time. Language is a tool for connection. Drop a comment below with the one Berlin phrase that completely baffled you when you first arrived.